A tsunami warning. The treacherous coastline hides behind a gentle border of shore pine. The sea is calm, a deep sapphire morphing to purple at the edge of the world, embraced by a crisp December horizon. Shelley drives to the bookstore in just under 27 minutes, her van eking a little on the curves. She is not late, but there is scarcely another car on the road, and the morning is full of bright, cold energy. She is in a hurry to get to the UPS boxes that came yesterday, to unpack and arrange their contents. Funny how merchandise can excite you. It must be the merchandise. What else can it be? As Reverend Marcia says, excitement is a good thing. Excitement keeps life from becoming a tedious trudge. Excitement makes things happen. Shelley is a small woman, round as a gingerbread lady, with 2 chips of glittering blue behind her thick glasses, and a complexion as smooth and rosy as a little girl's. They were lucky to have her, even for 1 day a week. Other volunteers show up late and leave apologetic messages, so the closed sign hangs on the glass door during many good business hours. But on Shelley days, the bookstore opens on time and stays open all day. First, she will make a pot of tea. She has a tin of Christmas cookies to arrange on a berry-bordered plate for the tea table. Then she will get to the boxes. Nobody else has her flair for display. The right showcasing makes all the difference in sales appeal. She will have everything unpacked by noon. What if she doesn't finish by then? Apprehension flutters in her heart, a flicker of actual fear. Get a grip, Shelley. What if she doesn't finish? Nobody is going to fire her, are they? No, but if she doesn't finish, then someone else will get to unpack the rest of the boxes. She was providentially led to work in the bookstore. There must be a reason for it, a bigger reason than her gift for arranging merchandise and steady dependability. But what? She is unwrapping a dozen spun glass angels, such fragile waifs. You could hang them all on one Christmas branch without bending it. Good morning, Shelley. She flinches at the minister's shrill voice. Good morning, Marcia, she chirps back. In her russet red dress, with her dyed hair and florid complexion, Marcia dominates the small room like a column of brick. Marcia snatches a box knife and slices into a carton with a chilling rip. She piles items recklessly on the table where Shelley is working. She munches up cookies, to Shelley's irritation. Those are supposed to be for customers. Shelley reminds herself to have a generous spirit. Marcia makes a pot of coffee, chattering constantly. Good thing the ambivalent angel books came. The discussion group needs them. These little glass hearts are supposed to sell for $4.50. You think they will? We might have to cut the price. But people always like hearts, don't they? What do you think? Marcia never waits for you to answer. More cartons split and tissue tears. Oh, here's the choir stoles. You don't need to put them out. Good, they sent white. Lorraine wanted red ones. Red is fine for Christmas, but what about the rest of the year? The choir isn't made out of money. We're lucky to have such a good choir with our small congregation. I just wish... Lorraine's becoming a problem. She's so controlling. Don't you think so? The board should replace her. Who would you get? Asked Shelley. For choir director? Oh, I don't know. If I had to, I could do it. We have other musicians in the congregation. Surely one of them, maybe Winslow. He's such a pleasant man. Shelley knew it. The woman has a plan. Shelley pictures Winslow directing the choir with his long arms. He was tall, distinguished looking, a more impressive figure than poor Lorraine, who was short and stout and dowdy. Lorraine has been directing the choir for years, since long before Marcia took over the church 3 years ago. Everyone likes Lorraine. It would be a shame to replace her. But Shelley could see the benefit. Winslow would be perfect, and Lord knows he could use the token pay. Winslow had been homeless before Dan Fisher let him sleep in an old trailer parked on a vacant lot he owned. Marcia moves on. You don't have to put all those books out. Keep some on reserve. The discussion group will ask for them. Marcia continues. Those glass angels should go in the window, shouldn't they? Shelley has already put them on a display shelf, but she nods. And the hearts. Hang the angels and the hearts in the window. They might attract outside business, who knows? Marcia continues with her directives until Shelley wants to scream, "Get out!" Finally, she does get out, leaving a litter of wrapping on the floor and a tangle of merchandise on the counters and tea table, along with her dirty coffee mug, 2 crumpled napkins, and the 4 remaining cookies. Luckily, Shelley has kept a few cookies in reserve. Charlotte is her first customer. Charlotte the soprano, a pale, thin woman of 50 who might have been beautiful a few years ago. She told everyone she used to sing opera, and maybe she did. Charlotte buys a white satin choir stole and eats half a cookie, all the time looking around as if she expects someone. Marcia just left, Shelley says, hoping to get rid of her. It is a slow day, but Shelley doesn't mind. She has plenty to keep her busy. She clears the trash and hangs the glass angels and hearts on a plastic tree in the window. At 2:30, Winslow arrives. He usually does show up on Tuesday around 2. Today he wears new black overalls that make him look even taller. I just got off work, he says, looking down at the immaculate overalls and raising his big hands apologetically. What a great musician he must be with hands like that. She has never heard him play, though. Sometimes he does yard work for a few of the congregation. He is a man who, as they say, never found himself. He used to play music with a band, but gave it up for reasons obscure. Never married, a shy man with scraping, polite manners. Far from young, but handsome in a boyish way. It is time for a break. Shelley makes a fresh pot of tea. Winslow pours himself coffee, inky and bitter by now. I can make fresh, she offers. Oh, no, he says. I'll have some tea when it's ready. But it is no trouble. She makes a pot of coffee and puts out the rest of the cookies. I read that book you gave me, he says. She did not actually give him the book. It was a $38 book, and she had lent it to him because he seemed interested and she thought it might be helpful. The Way to Abundant Good. Why hasn't he brought it back? It was part of the store inventory, and she would have to pay for it if he didn't. Well, of course, he will bring it back. Did you, Winslow? What did you think? He has beautiful white teeth, dentures, just like her husband. Men never take care of themselves. Then they pay for it when the years pile up. It's a good book, he says, raising his shoulders a little. But I don't know where to start. I'm lucky Dan lets me stay in his trailer. He says to pay him when I can. That's my good. That's a start, she says. She knows where Winslow lives because she has driven him home a few times. Winslow has no car, no license either. He takes another cookie. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, he says, lowering his face and covering his mouth while he chews. She wonders if they hurt him, his dentures. I know how you feel, Winslow, she says. Shelley has done a lot of things in her own life. Besides retail, she has sold everything from shoes to cement. She was once an army medic. She used to do secretarial work for a state senator. After his term ended, he found her a job in the copy department at City Hall. She operated a wrecking yard with her second husband. She even did some drag racing, and she ran a press for a small publication several years ago. When she met her current husband, she decided she would marry once and for all. He was her age, but thanks to her good skin and a touch of cosmetic surgery, she looked younger. Before he retired, he had been in some way connected with government contracts, a man of sufficient means who no longer needed to work, though he still engaged in occasional ventures. Shelley is vague about the nature of these. They moved north from Sacramento 6 years ago. They bought a house that is too big for the two of them, but it faces the sea and would accommodate guests well if they had any. At least it allows her to distance herself from the TV sports he plays at max volume. From her room, she has not even a glimpse of the ocean, but she can always hear it if she listens. Winslow helps her move a display. He is strong and likes to move things for her. His fingers touch hers. She imagines they linger. Ridiculous. Winslow is at least 20 years younger than she is. Younger, but bald and toothless as a new baby and as childlike. Shelley still has all of her hair and most of her own teeth, too. She takes good care of herself, except for too much weight now that she is a settled married woman. Winslow is innocent as a boy. Men like that, they hang around churches and charity thrift stores with no clue about life, losted. Probably he thinks of her as a mother, though his own mother is still alive somewhere and sends him regular cash infusions. When she passes him a stack of cardboard for the recycle bin, his hand rests on hers for a pulsing moment. He stays until closing, and she drives him home. I guess you don't have time for a cold drink? He asks, his deep voice quavering on the last word. She has the church board meeting to attend, but that is an hour away. The cold drink is a flat Pepsi, and isn't very cold either. He sets a bowl of stale chips between them on the tired bedspread and brings out a half-eaten jar of black olives. They munch and chat, their fingers meeting in the plastic bowl once or twice. She decides he really is courting her like an awkward boy. No one has done that in years. Her husband takes her for granted now, like a piece of equipment he paid for. Before she leaves, she forces Winslow to accept a 50 because he let it slip that he hasn't money for his state health insurance. She glances around surreptitiously, but the way to abundant good is not there. Winslow has left the book somewhere. "I can bring it to you on Tuesday," he says, a promise in his eyes, and in the warm hand he lays heavily on her shoulder. It is a long week. She feels her life shifting the way the tide shifts just before it rises or ebbs. In her dream, she is 18 years old, a bride full of joyful anticipation. Her bridegroom is a tall man dressed in black, a handsome man, mature and full of the world's knowledge. An orchestra brings her down the aisle in a white satin dress that streams behind her. She peers through a veil of lace. On both sides, everyone stands up and cranes to see her glory. There is her girlhood playmate, Beth Ann, and there her brothers and their wives, and her first husband, the one who died, her estranged son, and his first wife peer emotionlessly at her. There is her second husband, the one she divorced, and his 4 children and their children, and her third husband, the one she is married to now. They smile and wave as if she is embarking on a long and exotic journey. And she is. A honeymoon with a tall bridegroom all dressed in black, a handsome man, full of the world's knowledge, a man who will take care of her from now on. The minister is not Marcia, but a wrinkled old man, a priest glowering over his white collar. He reads her vows in a sepulchral voice, and she repeats them. The air is thick with the scent of lilies already wilting. Light is fading in the chapel, and the congregation is absolutely still. The face of her new husband, white and solemn in the gloom, all expecting, possessive, full of love and finality. Suddenly she realizes that he is about to take her away from everything and everyone she loves, that she will never see any of them again. An alarm leaps in her breast, but it is too late. Why, she is only a girl. What right have they to extract such promises from her? She is too young for this match, too young for this finality. The last words leave her lips like prisoners making a reluctant escape. "Until death shall part us." Her new husband enfolds her in his arms, takes her lips in an icy, passionless kiss, and the remaining candles go out. She wakes with a short scream, but her real-life husband sleeps on beside her on his pillow, snoring like a captured blowfly. On Saturday, she spies a new-looking copy of The Way to Abundant Good in the window of the Treasure Hunter thrift store. On Sunday, Reverend Marcia thanks Lorraine, who is not present, for her years of devoted service, and announces that the position of choir director is open. On Tuesday, Shelley wakes up too early. Beyond the dark row of shore pine, the sea is shrouded in mist. Nothing is going to happen, she says, certain that it will. But if he invited her in, if he asked her, even if he didn't ask her. Nothing is going to happen, she insists, driving helter-skelter down the highway. She almost runs into a slow log truck that appeared suddenly after a blind curve. She swerves to a muddy stop in front of a county sign. Tsunami escape route, it says. The hearts are gone, sold, every one of them, but a few frail angels still dangle in the plastic tree. Noon arrives. She could not eat. A distracting arrhythmia beats in her throat. Maybe she should see a new doctor. She doesn't really trust hers. 1 o'clock. 2. Winslow is late. 3 o'clock. By 4, she understands that he is not coming. But not until she hangs the close sign does she stop hoping. Something must be wrong. She can drive over to his place. She does. Cold, dark rain comes at her sideways in the wind, and her vanity pumps sink into the mud. The rusty trailer is completely dark, silent and empty, locked up tight. A black spot in her chest, like a tiny drop of spilled ink, begins to spread. She cannot stop it any more than she can hold back the realization that she is a fool. That she had hoped with a girl's hope for a thrill, not only forbidden but impossible. That she is not only foolish but old and foolish, nor can she stop the awakening shame. Why, she had even cast the deciding vote that took away Lorraine's job. And yes, it is clear she will have to pay the full price for the way to abundant good. How could she have imagined that it was worth taking a risk with this hapless child man, this, face it, petty con man, who clearly saw exactly what she was, because such was his natural prey. She can no longer keep from knowing what the actual danger had been. Had he really done this to her for $50? Or had she actually done it to herself? Now comes the tide she has anticipated. Not a sweet swell of forbidden romance, but a cold surge of dark shame that swamps her beaches and floods the city of her soul.